Hey everybody, welcome back for our next geometry video. In this one, as promised in our last video on perimeter, we are going to be talking about the area of polygons in this one. Now, what is area? Area is the space inside, and I'm going to underline area right here, is the space on the inside of that polygon inside of that shape. It doesn't necessarily just have to be polygons, it can be other shapes as well. In this case, it actually can be circles, and it can be ovals, it can be rounded shapes. What we're mainly going to look at today are polygons. So, it can be square inches, square feet, or any other measure of distance squared. Okay, so feet times feet, inch times inch, etc., etc. Now, the reason that it is a square something, I'm going to write this up here. Can be a little bit tough to imagine. If you are measuring perimeter, last time if we had a shape that was, I'm just going to do a quick, somewhat straight-sided square. And let's say we had 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches. That square, the distance around, is in straight lines. So if we took each one of these sides, laid it all out, we would have one long line that was 2, 2, 2, and 2. Okay. Each one of those sides, if we laid them right next to each other, that would make one long line that was 8 inches long. Now the difference with what we're talking about with these shapes with area, okay, that's perimeter. And I'm going to mark that right here so we remember that. Perimeter is right here. Area is the length and the width of a certain area of space. Okay, so perimeters in straight lines, but area looks like this. Okay, area is in a certain square number of something. Okay, so area down here would be this length times this length in a square. Okay, to find the area of the inside of that square or that whatever shape we're going to have. We're going to have some triangles later on that we're going to deal with. Okay. But whenever we write what the area of something is, it's going to be in something squared. So if it's inches, it could be, I'll write it up here, it could be inches squared. It could be feet squared. It could be meters squared or centimeters squared. Okay, that tells me, that little 2 up there, that tells me that we are dealing with area instead of a straight line. Okay, that's all that's telling me. So area, and we're going to practice this, area needs to have this little 2 up here, or you could say square inches or square feet or square meters. Okay. Easier just to put that little 2 up there, but you could write it either way. But they call it square because we measure them in squares, okay, just like we have here. Area can be measured in squares. Now you can add up little parts and pieces to make squares or to make parts of squares, but that's what we're going to be talking about in here. So if we look at this shape, my question for you is, how many squares are in this shape right here, inside of this rectangle? Well, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 square somethings. And we're just going to say units, because units is what we use when we don't know what the measurement is. We don't know if it's feet, we don't know if it's inches, we don't know if it's centimeters, but we do know that it's some kind of unit, which is just some kind of measurement, squared. Units in squares, just like that. Okay. Same thing over here. This one, we are missing this piece right here, but we have the rest of it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units squared. There are 8 squares inside of that shape, so they are 8 units, whatever they would be. If they said that this was an inch, it would be 8 inches squared. If it says centimeters, it would be 8 centimeters squared. Okay. But as long as we don't know, we're just using that term units. Okay. Down we go. Number one, let's take a look at number one. This rectangle has how many square units? Okay. Let's find out. Let's count the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 square units in it. 12 little squares inside of that big rectangle. So that tells me that it has an area of 12 square units. The amount of squares in there is the amount of square units that are in that shape. Number two, they try to mess us up a little bit here. They take this little piece out of the middle. Okay, so none of this even matters. It's kind of like a long stretched out donut if you look at it that way. But we're looking at the shaded figure, the darker piece of this big rectangle. Well, how many squares are shaded in? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. Okay, so 10 square units are shaded, which tells me it has an area of 10 square units. That's all there is to it. However many squares there are that they're asking about, that's how many square units there are going to be. Down here, 3. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 groups of 4 if we counted them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We could also say, you know what, there are 4 rows that each have 4 squares in them. 4 times 4 groups is 16. Either way, if we count the individual squares, or if we just do the multiplication, we're going to get 16. And I say that because it becomes very important later on. Because not always will you have these little squares in there. We'll get to some tougher problems that they do not draw the squares for you. They just tell us the length of the side, and we have to do the math. Okay? But for now, we can still count. And there's nothing wrong with that. Number 4. Once again, we have a rectangle here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 square units. Or 20 units squared. Now, once again, we could say, okay, going side to side, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares in each row, side to side, and there's 4 rows. 4 times 5, if we know our basic math facts, that's 20 as well. So we can count each individual square, or we could just do multiplication. We could also say, you know what, in each column going up and down, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have 5 groups of 4. 5 times 4 also is 20. Many different ways you could do that problem right there. Now this one, we don't have a normal shape. We got this little guy just sticking out right over here. So we have to count the squares. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 squares. Which tells me there are 10 square units, or 10 units squared in that shape. Easy enough, right? Let's fly our way through these. Now, right off the bat, you're starting to see something a little bit different. But once we get there, it's not going to be so bad. Let's just take a look at number 1 first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 square units. You could also say, okay, well, up and down, there's 5 groups of 3. 3 times 5, or 5 times 3 is 15. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 groups of 5. 3 times 5 is 15. Units squared. Make sure we get those units on there. Make sure we get that label. Number 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 3 times 3 is 9 units squared. Number 3 looks a lot like it, except we're missing a block. So that tells me there are 8 in there. If you want to count them, you can count them. We can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares in that shape right there. Now, these ones, 4 and 6, look a little weird. Let's do number 5 first. Number 5, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units squared. Now, 4 and 6. You notice we have triangles now. First thing I want you to do is count the squares, because that's what we've been doing. That's what I want to do, because that's what I know. There are 3 squares in that shape. And 3 squares, it's a good start, but now we have to deal with those triangles too. The triangles, however, if I were to cut this little guy right off over here, if I were going to take him and move him over here, what do I have instead of 2 triangles? I have another square. That becomes a full square when I take those 2 triangles and put them together. So if I moved him all the way down here, those 2 triangles give me one more square, which tells me I then have 1, 2, 3, 4 square units. Or 4 units squared. And the same thing down here. Let's count the squares first. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares in that shape right there, which if we counted the sides, there are 8, so it's an octagon. Just like an octopus that has 8 arms, an octagon has 8 sides. But we have 5 squares already. But then we have these triangles that we have to deal with. Well, you know what we can do? Let's move him over here. Get rid of that. And then let's move her over here. We'll get rid of that. So then, this triangle moving over here, we're going to flip it a little bit and just fit him on top of that other triangle to make another square. We already had 5. Well, that becomes a 6th square. And we move this triangle over here to make another square. That becomes a 7th square. So we end up having 7 units squared, or 7 square units in that shape. Now, it's kind of tough to visualize sometimes, but again, just like everything else in life, the more of it that you do, the better of it you get. So, if we practice, we just have to picture, I'm going to take this triangle right here, I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to move him all the way over here. Okay, so I'm going to turn him just a little bit, put him on top of that other square, or on top of that other triangle, and that's going to make a square. Okay. Now, number 7 down here. We need to make our own shapes. And they can look like whatever they want to look like, as long as we have 12 square units in our shape. Okay. So, if you would like to pause at this particular point in time and kind of imagine what you would like these shapes to look like, you are welcome to do so. Now is a great time to pause. Otherwise, let's do this. If I want 12 square units in a shape, I'm just going to draw regular plain old shapes. I'm just going to do squares, rectangles, that kind of stuff. If you want to get fancy, you could do shapes like this with triangles. I'm not going to get that fancy. I'm just going to use squares. I know 2 numbers that multiply together to get 12. I could do 1 times 12. Not really a whole lot of space on that shape, though, to have 1 row of 12 blocks. I could do 2 times 6. That would be perfectly fine. Let's try that. What if I did 2 times 6? I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 2. And then I can color in that whole shape right there. Making sure that we get it all colored in. There we go. That is 12 square units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's one way we could do 12. Also, 3 times 4, we could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 3 times 4 equals 12. So we could draw a 3 by 4 rectangle as well. that also has 12 square units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And like I said, you could do one whole row if you had enough space on your paper of 12 squares. That would be perfectly fine too. 18 square units. Well, we could do one row of 18 blocks. That would have 18 square units in it. We could do 2 rows of 9, but again, we don't have a whole lot of room on the paper. So the only other option we could do is either 3 rows of 6 or 6 rows of 3, however you want to look at that. So let's do 3. 1, 2, 3. We have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we color, recolor. Something I think the world needs to do more of these days is just get a coloring book and some colored pencils and color. Coloring is a good thing. It's relaxing. So there's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 squares in there. And you can move that around and put it wherever in there that you want to. Completely up to you. We could do the same thing with 25. We can do the same thing with 10. Let's quickly do that. And just to show you that I can do this anywhere in the square, let's do it right in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. I can draw that 25 square unit box right in the middle of this box if I wanted to. And if you counted it out, 5 times 5 is 25. There are 25 square units inside of that shape. And then number 10, 30 square units. Well, we could do one row of 30, but obviously we don't have a whole lot of space. We could do 2 rows of 15. Not enough space. We could do 3 rows of 10. Not enough space. But we could do 5 rows of 6 or 6 rows of 5, because 6 times 5 and 5 times 6 are both 30 as well. So let's do that. Let's just do that one up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Draw that going up there. And once again, we are going to color, because who doesn't like to color? Coloring is a good thing. It's a nice, relaxing activity. There we go. There's our 6 by 5 or 5 by 6. That's got 30 square units colored in. Okay. So again, that was a lot of information. A lot of stuff. But the important thing to remember is that area is just in square units. It could be square inches, square feet, square centimeters, square miles, whatever you're measuring. Area is in square something or something squared, because you're dealing with the length of a box and the width. Okay? One of these squares of some kind of measure. Okay? That's all square units are little squares, little blocks in whatever you are measuring on the inside of a shape. Okay? So keep that in mind. Perimeter goes in straight lines. Area, we're adding 2 straight lines that are measuring different distances. Okay? Length and width, or height, whatever it happens to be. Height and width, length and width. Okay? Whatever you want to call it. Okay? But that is your area. The space inside of a shape or space inside of something. Okay? With length and width that we're measuring. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out, and thank you for learning about the area of polygons and other shapes with me. It's been great having you. If you have any ideas for other videos you'd like to see in the future, feel free. Do drop those down in the comments below. And I would be happy to try to make a video that matches what you are looking for as soon as possible. If you just want to say hello, feel free to say hello in the comments too. Always happy to see that. But until next time, I hope you have a great, great, great rest of your day, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. I hope this video helped. And until next time, take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.